Hello, and thank you for wanting to find out more information about PlayoutONEPro. My name is Dave, and with me is Phil. We are going to be your, I guess it's like a special one-off guided tour, isn't it?
Pilot and co-pilot.
Yes. We are going to, over the next hour, we are going to show you PlayoutONEPro along with Music1 Pro as well, and show you how they all integrate and how all the different bits fit together. To start with, Phil is going to take you through PlayoutONEPro, and Phil uses this software every day in your other job as a broadcast presenter at Radio Newark, so you're more than qualified to tell people why this piece of software is so good in what it does.
There's a pregnant pause then. More than qualified to... you got any qualifications?
Did you come up with any qualifications? No, you
enough to keep breathing.
Exactly, but you use this every day, so... You've used other systems in the past, and so you've got a breadth of knowledge on how these things work. With your knowledge and our development team, I think we've created something here that is friendly to use in a day-to-day environment, but also gives you the power to, with Music1, to schedule your logs the way that you want them to run.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole point with this is it's not got to be frightening. The majority of people that I work with aren't tech savvy people. They're still in the realms of, well, I want to put a CD in a CD player, push track 1 and hit play. So any playout system has to have a level of front of house that doesn't frighten people, and I think that's what we've done with PlayoutONE. You can kind of work out how do I get a piece of music or a piece of audio onto the system, and to keep it nice and simple, this is what we've done. We've created a number of little windows which hopefully are quite intuitive. The media finder window is the first and probably most important one when you're loading any kind of audio onto the system, because here we can see that there's already audio loaded through. We can see what it's called. It's UID, which is its unique identifying number or letter. I still have trouble with this. I'm an old-fashioned one. I used to work in a library. So you think of numbers. You don't think of letters as much as numbers. They're slots. We can use any type of alphanumeric system to make things work here. Now you'd see on this database there are still numbers. So cart number 24 is the sports bed. Its intro length, the time it takes for it to actually start talking, is 8 seconds. Its whole length is 8 seconds as well, because that isn't a song. We don't tend to have intros on jingles as much as songs. And then there's other bits of information like the year it charted. Well, it's not a song, so it didn't chart. If this was a song, it might say 2018 in it. The category will link to what you say later when we come to Music1, isn't it? Because obviously the category, the existence of that in the system also talks to Music1, so Music1 knows where things are.
Yeah, and it's worth noting here, I think, that you've got PlayoutONE, which is the automation system, and Music1, which we can see just on the taskbar at the bottom there. That's the scheduling brain, which actually schedules the logs that we see here, and which you'll show us in a bit.
Yeah. And then the type of thing that this is, and it's a bed. In the world of radio, a bed is a piece of music that doesn't tend to have any vocals on it, because you talk above it, hence it's a bed. You lie on a bed, you lie over the thing. Exciting, isn't it? So that's there for you. If I wanted to go in and just edit that, so I tell you what, I'm going to call it Sports Bed Monday. I can double click on it, and that's the audio. So in front of me now, I'm seeing the audio. That's how it physically sounds. That's again its unique identifier, which we know is 24. There's the title. That's the type. Its category is news beds, because that's where it lives. I can change it to sport bed. Let's go with Monday. Yeah. Oops, Monday. Monday. We like Monday, especially when it's raining outside. Like
Yes.
And save. And all of a sudden, it's called Monday. And when we do move on to Music1, the schedule in a while, you will notice that that's actually changed in that as well. There's no doubling up of time. We've changed the title in both the scheduling system and the playout system, which is what we're looking at.
Which is important, because in a lot of systems, you don't get that integration, do you? You get, if you add an item into the playout system, you've then got to add it manually into the scheduling system, which duplicates the work. If you change the title, as you've just done there, you then got to go into the scheduling system and change it. But as you said, we're going to find out in a minute, these two are always constantly talking to each other.
Checking. Because over time, you might go through your database of things and say, oh, do you know what I'm going to do? I mean, I know you're very to the point when it comes to how things are titled.
I've got OCD, you mean?
You've got OCD. I'm a bit more slapdash than you, and it was only last week actually that I was at Newark thinking, I've got all these ads and promos, and I've got sponsor credits, and I want to denote them as on titles. So I've done ad so and so, spons credit so and so. Now I'd hate it if I'd have to go into this and do it, and then go into Music1 and do it. It would do me head in. But you don't with this, because I do it once on either side, and the other side will change, which is brilliant.
And what's also neat as well is we can see in the log, which I'm just jumping ahead ever so slightly, but it says now Sportbed Monday in
it's changed
the log.
Because we've changed it there.
Yeah, it all talks.
That's great, isn't it? It's fantastic. So that's great. Looking at the media finder window, we start on the left-hand side with the little plus, because most people watching this will go, that's great, they're already in there, these items. How do I add a new item? I will show you. We've got some pluses here. Here's the first one. We click that. Here's a box. And we can fill the box with audio. So we can basically, if we had audio on our system that's a file off a pen drive or something, we can click that. And we can map it to the file like you can map anything else and open. What'll happen is then it will draw a graph file here, so we can see how it looks, and from that point onwards we can then set all the things we might want to set, like the intro to a song, a hook point to a song, which is the bit that we all know and we sing along to, an early extra to it, which is an interesting little feature which we'll talk about separately. The main extra is the red marker which fires the next item, so that's good to put that on there. By default, when you drag a song into this, it will try and mark that for you. 9 times out of 10 PlayoutONE gets it right. If we get a song that has a false ending, so it kind of fades a bit and comes back, there's a chance that the algorithm mightn't get that exactly spot on, so you might want to just look at that yourself. And also, if it's a recorded piece that you've got extra bits of audio you want to keep away, you can set the trims in and out. For example, what I mean is if I click this next button here, which is basically record directly from a recording device, so this microphone I'm talking about now, if I wanted to record from my microphone straight into this card here, I might have 3 seconds of saying nothing. I might have 3 seconds of burping if I was a naughty boy. And I wanted to get rid of that from the rest of the card, rest of the audio. You can trim the beginning and you can trim the end. So that's fun. We have a normalize function. So when the song or item comes in, we can normalize. Now this is peak normalization for those of you that know a little bit about normalization. So it looks at the overall song or item, and looks to try to make it, it's not necessarily louder, but more audible if it's a quiet piece. And that's that there. Unique identifier, again, you can have the old-fashioned world of carts. You can say, that's my cart 50. I could type 50 in there. The title of the piece, the artist that it relates to, and then what type it is. And this is quite important because the rest of the software needs to know that this is a song, for example. So if it's a song, I can go down to song, give it a song type. The category that it's in, these categories is for scheduling, so that it's a scheduling system knowing what to do. And as Dave mentioned a couple of minutes ago, PlayoutONE talks to our scheduling system. If I said this song was on the A list, it would, when I hit save, would tell Music1 Pro that this is a new song and it's going to be on your A list, so you can schedule it. And then you can actually add an alternate category if you want, so it may be in a separate category, but for the moment we'll just stick to one. The other little gaps here are for oversweep. Now if this wasn't a song and it was what we call a sweeper in the world of radio, which is a voiceover, we might want this to actually sweep over the next item like a song. So you might have, this is a great station, and you might have a song with a whoosh at the end. You might want that to be solus. You might want it to be on its own. You might want it to start the song alongside it, and we call that an oversweep. So if I click that little button there, whatever I recorded into here or my voiceover did, it would fire this item in the log at the same time as the next item, and it would time it up to the intro of the song. And then the last point here is whether this song, if it is a song, whether it fades or whether it just ends. I'm going to pretend this song has a fade, a nice natural fade, so I'll hit fade there. The reason why we put that in is on the log you'll see these little icons there, fade. I'll open this more in a second. And the reason why we do that is that when this log's quite intelligent, it can back time. Now, in the world of broadcasting, it means that you don't have to do your sums if you're not in a live show environment. This can back time to a news junction at the top of an hour. It can only fade songs that are fadeable. If I didn't have that on, it would mean this song would be a cold or an end song, and it sounds a bit shocking if you early fade a song that does end. Bang!
Yeah.
If I faded that 30 seconds before the end point, you'd hate me. So that's how you can stop it doing that.
So should we see how this kind of operates? If you want to open up a file, and you should find one
Are we gonna have one?
In the C drive.
Oh, okay, what have we got?
PlayoutONE, and then I think if you go to Data and then Audio, you can pick any file from in there.
Oh, let's have. Are we gonna have a song or a
Yeah, let's
thing?
go for Cart 1. That's one of our demo songs
Cart 1.
usually.
It's a great song.
Yeah.
There we go. Right, so because this is a PlayoutONE database, it sucks in the metadata, which is along with the file. I know a lot of people that still not been able to get their heads around the fact that music as audio files on a computer can also contain data.
Yeah.
And it's mad, this, and I'm middle-aged, so I'm getting into this. So I can have a WAV form or an MP3 file or an M4A, whatever, and inside that file structure is all this information.
Yeah.
So PlayoutONE could just suck it in and go, I know the artist is the Fog Project, I know that the title is We Are One, and it's a song, so that's good. So we can hit yes, and there we have our file. What I would do normally is have a listen to it. So we'd hit the play button, and we can see it playing there, and there's a little VU meters. We're waiting for the intro of the song, which is about there.
Yep.
I've marked it. There's a yellow marker. I can just pause it. There's a yellow marker.
You can't hear the intro,
but we can.
This, but we can.
And it's a great song. So there's the intro to the song. That's going to tell our jocks, our DJs, when to shut up, hopefully. Yep. The next thing I do is go to the end here and listen to the end, because I want this to be able to fire the next item. So I'll go to play, hear the next bit, there. So there's my red little line, which will then tell the next item in the log to fire. And actually, to be fair, apart from giving it a UID, which we need to, you can either auto it, so the system will look for the next available one, or if you know what number you want to give it, you can do that. I'll auto it. So it's going to give it 41,013. That's a nice big one. Its type is a song, as we went through before. I can put it on the A list because I love it. And it's not fadeable because it ends. Auto DJ. A lot of people still ask about Auto DJ because in Pro we don't use it, do we?
No, we covered this off on another video when we talked about the run to time. The only reason you would need the Auto DJ tick box to be ticked is if you wanted it to be considered as an autofill song. So if the hour is running short and you want the system to autofill, then that's when it uses the Auto DJ. So yeah, okay. Usually that would be ticked.
Okay. Which is a good point, actually. Yeah, what do you do if an hour runs short? Okay.
Well, what I'll do is we'll pop a link at the end of this video to the run to time video, which will explain that in more detail because that's quite an involved process, but one worth noting.
Okay. On this card, we've got other options. So, yes, in the world of disc jockeying, you can pitch up and tempo up songs within PlayoutONE.
Great for dance stations.
Great for dance stations if you want to get a bit more energy into your tracks. But this is talking about just that track. So if I pitch that up by 2%, whenever we played it on air, it would play 2% faster than the rest of the music on the system. You can add some notes. You can talk. I think rotate is something that we've been over on in a separate way, isn't it? And rotate cuts and carts and how we create those. Again, it's quite in depth, but we'll be more than willing to kind of go through that again with you.
Yeah, we'll pop a link again about rotates on the end of this video.
Again, to do with rotates, your day part and run dates, you can actually stop this playing at certain times in the day if you wanted to. Splits and commands. This isn't a split item. If in the world of broadcasting nowadays, you know what? In the old days, we had one radio station talking to one transmitter, and it was very simple, very linear. Nowadays, we've got one radio station core, and then we've got 5 other transmitters with 5 other sets of adverts, and it masquerades itself as 5 businesses. So splits again, we can post separate detail on if indeed you've got a multi-site system and setup. And our metadata, which is really important because by default we set metadata. That's the thing that basically goes out onto your website and says now playing this. Or it goes out onto your RDS. If you're an FM radio station, you can actually output what you're playing on air. You can override that with this. So instead of it saying now playing Fog Project We Are One, we could override that by saying it's my mum's birthday today. Happy birthday, Joyce. You know, and she likes this song. It'd be stupid, but you can do it. It's all there. And that, in one kind of file swoop, is how you create a song in the system. So about 3 or 4 clicks, sorted. Now you're probably thinking, I've got 5,000 of these. I'm not doing that every time. Some of it you do have to look at, because if you've got a database of nothing and you've got 5,000 songs, you're going to have to import them and make sure they're all okay. But you only do it once. However, you can do it in a bulk format, which is why there's a double plus feature, which means instead of having one card open, you can get files and folder structure instead. So I can do add files. I can multi-select a number of files, or I can add folders. So I can literally go, right, there's a folder on my computer with 5,000 songs in. Get them all in.
Yep.
Can I demonstrate that with this? I don't know what you've got on your demo
I think
system.
we can go into the C drive. We can go to that PlayoutONE audio folder,
okay.
and we can do it. But let's not import it, because this video will be 5 hours long. Yeah, hit that audio folder there.
There.
Yeah, hit OK on that. Okay,
So
so there it is.
Look
scanning
at that.
now. Yeah.
It's scanning everything in that folder and says, "Oh my, there's so many things in here." Now, as Dave says, if I was to hit import files,
I think you can go one further. You can,
Can you?
yeah, you can do import files, but then don't hit the next window after that. Yeah, fine.
So it scanned all the files in that system and gone, "Oh, there's tons." What do you want me to do when I put it into here? Well, in this instance, I'd probably auto ID it.
Yep.
Because there's so many of them. I don't know how many it's found. So you hit auto ID, and it would start there in increments.
Yep.
So you go up from there. You can say all those things are songs. So you can do some of this, the previous function, on multiple items. All the songs you found here are all songs. I want to put them all into the B list this time. And the year that they came to my being was 2018.
Yeah.
And when you hit that, which I'm not going to do,
No.
it would then suck all that data into here. And then you'd have to go in and just make sure that the top and tails were right.
It will auto extra it itself, so it will put that red line
Yeah.
automatically. May need a little bit of adjustment, but not a lot. But I think that's quite useful when, for example, if you've got all your songs in folders, for example, 80s pop, 90s R&B, whatever, so you can do bulk imports that way.
Yeah.
Alternatively, if you're thinking about moving to PlayoutONEPro from another automation system, then there may be a way we can actually suck out the data from your existing automation system straight into PlayoutONEPro. So I would email us about that, because it may be that we've done that in the past, and we can do that for you as well. So you don't have to go through this process if you want to move from your existing automation system to PlayoutONEPro.
Absolutely. Always good to ask.
Yes.
I'm going to cancel away from that.
Yes,
before you
please
kill
do.
me.
Yeah.
So that's the double plus. Great. Little pen here. That's the same function as me double clicking on an item. So if I hit the pen, it just opens it. And you may be thinking, why have you done that twice? You can actually stop a user from getting into this function, these functions here. Because another question we get asked a lot is, well, how can I lock this down so that Johnny Discodex doesn't delete half my database by accident or otherwise? So we can do that for you so that the on-air studio can't get to the editing functions.
Yeah, perhaps we'll show that in a minute once we've gone through those options. It's a good one to point out.
Spanner's very useful because this is a bulk changes tool. So if I wanted to change that sweeper down to that jingle there, I can obviously use my shift key and click. And then I can tell the spanner that all those items that I've highlighted in blue, I want to change these attributes on all of them.
Yep.
Now, you'd have to be mad to want to call them the same thing. You'd have to be mad to have the same artist on all of them. But, you can if you want.
Or year. Year would be a good one.
Yeah, it'd be a good one.
You
Right.
could bulk select that and say, do you know what, all that is going to be from 2018.
2018. Let's do that. So all those items, I want a year to be 2018. Run. Here we go. So it's running it now and it's done. So when we go back, you'll now see they've all got 2018 on them.
Yep.
Like that. So there's a great example of what you might want to use a spanner for. But you can use it for lots of other things, tons of other things.
Bulk normalization is a good
Let's
one.
go back into it. We've got whether you've marked them with the wrong fade points. You think, well, they're all cold ending things. you can also pitch and tempo them. So you've got those 6 items or 7 items. I want them to play faster or something. Whether they are split items, which we can go over again at another point. Anything. Regenerate the waveforms. It's just a really good tool just for bulk detail. If you think, well, I can't be bothered opening every single thing and changing it. You can create a browse list in effect and go, right, I'm going to make all these things do this.
Yep.
So that's very, very interesting. And it's very quick as well, very fast. Next to that, we've got this little squirrely whirly. Not used very much in Pro. Standard, sometimes on occasion you want to refresh the lists because Standard doesn't necessarily have the same functionality as this. But with Pro, it's constantly updating all these windows in real time. So it's just been left in as a legacy icon. You may want to pre-fade a piece of audio here. So you're on air, you've got this stuff working away, all the boxes have got songs in, and you think, what does the travel bed sound like? Well, you can left-click on the headphones, and depending on how you've set up PlayoutONE, the headphone output will go to whatever pre-fade input on your desk you've selected or otherwise. So you click it once, and we can't hear it here. You can't see it playing, but it's now playing the travel bed down the pre-fade channel.
Yep.
If you let's just stop it for a minute. If you right-click on it, it will play you the end of it. So the left click is for the beginning, the right click is for the end. A fast way of listening to something.
Which lots of users love. They absolutely love the fact that, with 2 clicks you can listen to the start of something and you can hear how it ends, which is really important when, coming off the back of that item and doing a link or talking into that item and seeing how it starts.
Mm-hmm. You can print this list if you wanted to, for some reason. This is very interesting because if you look at, let's look at a song, let's look at something we've got here on our main list. So, Give Me That by George Benson. This is a demo database, so it's not going to be a live instance, as you'll probably see in a second when I pull up the history, because this little I button is to tell us the history of the artist and the title that we've highlighted. So I click there, and all of a sudden it tells me that I'm playing George Benson, Give Me That every hour. Which we are on this test database. If you've got a real radio station, you'll probably see these asterisks dotted around about here and there. It's a fast way of seeing what's happening to that unique identifier or cart. There's Today, so we're playing him every hour today.
Yeah, we are.
It's great.
George FM.
Reason why it's in here, you've got a presenter that wants to free spin something. In the world of radio, that's not very common nowadays, but you never know. They want to put George Benson in. They're just going to check to make sure that George Benson wasn't played in the past 3 or 4 hours and that song wasn't played in the past 3 or 4 hours. They can check to see on here. The same function exists on the log window as well, as you've probably looked at over this side there. So if you've got a song like Adele Chasing Pavements, if I did the same thing here, it'll tell me when Adele was played, and gosh, she's been played the same time every hour.
Yeah. I would like to point out this demo database, we just repeat the same hour over and over and over and over and over. That's why that is showing every hour.
That is correct. The bin stuff off. And this is something else that we can get rid of for you in the live environment, because you might not want a DJ going, I'm just going to bin Rod Stewart.
It's nice.
You might want to bin Rod Stewart. Because if I click that now, it'll give me a warning to say, you're going to permanently delete a selected audio, are you sure? If I said yes, Rod Stewart would disappear from my history, would never come back.
Nope.
So we can blank that off for you in a live environment. Next to that is select categories to show. Bearing in mind this isn't a cart wall. Old-fashioned days selected that on the left-hand side of a screen you may see a number of slots with all of your audio in, and it goes back to what I said earlier about having numbers, carts, 8-track cartridges, and numbers. This is a browse list, very much like iTunes would have, and other Spotify, for example, the way that they would organise your music with you. This is exactly the same. So you're seeing music in a library, but you can sort it any way you want. So if I said to it, right, if I right-click on that, I can't see anything now.
Because we've deselected everything.
We've deselected everything. It's all there, we just can't see it. Because I want to see the A-list only, which I can see there. Oh, I want to see the B-list only. I want to see the A and the B-list together. Or, I tell you what, I want to just check I want to check let's go down the list a little bit more here. My promos, my production. Yeah. What's in my production list at the moment? I've got those things. So it gives you an instantaneous look on parts of the library. So you're not looking at a big wall of carts. You're looking at selection methods. If I click that back again, though, here, I can get... hang on. There we go. There we go. I can see everything again. So that's that. This is types. So we've got categories and types. Now the types are adverts, songs, yeah, not just the categories.
Top level items.
Top level items.
Yeah.
So if I did the same thing again, if we just get rid of everything and say show me the adverts, there's the adverts. Show me the carts. There's a cart. And if I right click at the top again here, like that, they're all back again.
See everything again, yeah.
Yeah, so that's how that works there. The next one along to this is the bookmarks. A lot of people, this is such a simple idea. Again, it's a bit like open up Google Chrome or Safari, and that other thing, was it called Edge?
Firefox.
Firefox.
Netscape.
Firefox XL5, what it was. Firefox.
Ask Jeeves.
Ask Jeeves. I'm going back a bit with that, are you? Yeah, so this is a bit of a browse again. So you think, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to create a bookmark based on something that I'm looking at. So that's what we've done in this instance. All the sweepers are there, all the adverts are here. There's the travel stuff there. And Dave, show us how you create this.
Well, it's very, very simple. Again, I think it's important to note that with the category and the type checkboxes as you were just using there, you can use those in a combination of different ways. So you can say, show me all the songs from the A-list, for example. So you can untick. I mean, it's going to show us the same thing, I know, but it's just a good way of combining them. Yeah. And then A-list.
Let's jump into here.
Actually, yes, because we can see there that there was a classic country show that was categorized as a song. So now we're just showing, songs on the A-list, which is great. If we wanted to save that as our A-list view,
bookmark,
we can click the little star there, and straight away it's created a new bookmark on the bottom. Always adds things to the bottom. We can title this, so we can call this A-list songs. We can give it a color if we want to. And we can hit save, and then there it is right there, A-list songs.
It's a bit face, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit in your face, yeah. Red is always used the warning category. Yeah. Now, if we wanted to delete that because we want to free up something, let's delete the travel. We don't really care about the travel. So we can, again, go into our Bookmark Manager by right-clicking, and then we can hit the bin icon on the bottom there, and that will get rid of travel, and then it defaults back to everything. So that's how we would do that. Now, that's quite useful because some music schedulers, may want to see, what's on the A-list. Quick little view of having a look at what's on the A-list. If we were to change a song in PlayoutONE from another terminal and move it to the B list, then that would refresh on all terminals. So you always get the live view.
Yeah.
And what's also really neat about the Bookmark Manager is that it doesn't just work for types. It can also work as...
trying to find the right colour. Sorry, I'm faffing about.
You're not having good...
I want a nice pastel colour. That's more of a pastel colour, isn't it?
There we go, yeah. So we've also got the ability to search for things and save a bookmark based on a search as well. So we could, for example, have a Take That hour.
What a great idea.
So if you're in the States, Take That were a big band in the 90s. Robbie Williams, Gary Barlow.
Take That.
There we go. We've got one song by Take That.
That'll be on every 4 minutes.
Yeah. We can actually save that view, though, as a Take That view. So we can actually do the same thing. We can hit the star, and it's automatically called it Take That. And we can hit save.
Do you trust me? That one.
Nice little yellow colour. There we go. So now if we click back to another one, we click back to Take That. That's our Take That view.
Hooray! Look at that. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Superb. And if you want to get rid of it, you just right-click. Bookmark Manager, as we said, it'll be on Take That, bin. We've been off Take That, and they've gone.
Yep.
You can get more and more of these along the top because you can just scroll along and scroll back again. So it's not like it's saying that you've only got 5 buttons. You can have a ton of buttons that you just scroll across to, and that is as simple as it gets.
Because I guess you may have, for example, we've got this set up on one screen, but you may have the whole audio all on, just one screen. So you can make it as big or as small, as you really want it to make it, which is really useful.
Yeah, so that really is this. The final kind of function is, that's all well and good, but how can I play something on the air? Well, you just drag it. So you left click, drag, and shove it in a box.
There we go.
And I hit the play button, and away it goes.
Yep.
So for the end user, for the presenter type person on the air, who doesn't necessarily have to worry about loading stuff in and making it work, all they've got to think about is, I'm going to play that in a minute. I can play it. So there's your CD.
There's your CD, yeah. There's your card machine, if you like. So that's how the media manager works. I guess it's worth just showing how the audio editing function works, where you can disable that in the settings window. Yeah. So when we do go into the settings window and turn off the audio editing abilities, you'll see what function is available to the user, which may be useful in a studio environment where you don't actually want the on-air jock being able to edit items.
So in here, when we go into our settings menu at the top, there's one little checkbox that says disable audio editing abilities, and you hit save, and now all of those audio editing abilities have gone from here.
So we can't delete something, we can't edit something.
That's correct. And that's that. So it's gone. So the jocks cannot double click.
It actually changes the functionality to a play instead.
Yeah. So they can't. Well, they obviously can't get into anything, and they can't delete it either because the bin's gone.
Yeah,
so
which is good. Rather important.
So that's what we do. Okay, so that's part one of this module here, and possibly the most important part of when you're creating your database and wanting to get your stuff together. This little box to my right here is the actual log, the one log, which is also synchronized across the network. So it's living, it's live, it's there, it's a being, it's a being.
And this is quite important that not many people realise, do they, that everything in PlayoutONE syncs together. You add a song onto this machine here, my machine over here, it sees the same thing. If I change the title here, it changes here. And that's exactly the same with the log as well, which is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. So across the top, just a quick one, we've got a little house on the prairie. And what this means is, if this, should we set this running?
Yeah, let's get it on.
Let's get it going now. Let's go from Adele. In fact, let's get the right hour. What are we in?
Let's go to Monday, the 3rd of September. I think that would probably be a good idea.
You see now, listeners and viewers, what we're doing. Monday the 3rd at 1300 British hours.
Yep.
So here we is, and this is where we should be about 1:30. So I'm going to sink down to where 1:30 maybe. So about here. Let's go there. Right. Let me just turn that on. Let's turn it on. Do you want it to sync? Yes, I do. Off we pop. It's on the air now.
Yep.
It's on the air. It's doing its thing. Okay, so this is live on air. You'll notice that the log is queuing up all the different bits and pieces that we need. I'm going to, in fact, I'm going to stick it into auto as well, because it may be a show that hasn't got a presenter. Yep. So all of a sudden it's going to run one after the other. Little house is here. This is because if I've got CeeLo Green and Forget You playing on air, and I forget where I am in the log, I just don't know what's happening in life, I'm looking up and down to my next hour. I'm looking at what's going to happen tonight at 8 o'clock. I can go down the log, look up and go all the way down and do all kinds of great things. And I want to think, what time am I now? By hitting the house, I go back home.
Yep.
And that's where I'm off to. So I'm back to where I started from.
The current playing item.
The next item along is the, as we say, find a playlist of find an item, find an hour. Again, very simple to navigate through. What day do you want? What time do you want? It will take you there. You don't need that in the same day, because we're on the 3rd of September on this broadcast at 1:34. I can go through to my 1400 hour, my 2 o'clock, my 15, my 16, my 17, my 18. I can move along through those hours very, very quickly without having to open up the calendar function and come back. I'm going to back to my little house. I don't know where I am. The next item along is this one here, which is toggle. Right. If you're live on air at the minute, and at this point you don't want, let me just take it back off air and onto auto again, because I'm going to pretend I'm live now. My cart's gone red, which means at the end of this item it's going to stop, because I've got a red traffic light on the end. I can change that function by just double clicking and turning it green, and notice that there's no red there and again, but we'll leave it red. And say, this shouldn't really happen in life, but say you've got, a guest on air, And no, with this is I'm going to do the opposite. Say I want to automate this section. I want to go to make a drink. Very quickly I can hit my toggle and it changes that red to green. Hit it again, green to red. It's happened to me in the past where I've had a bit of a green going on, right?
Oh, you didn't realise it was green until you got to the last 10 seconds.
Literally, 5 seconds before the end of a song, I've got a guest in the studio, and it's quite difficult when you're in a bit of a flap to get the mic or to get the mouse and go to this point. You're doing it quick, aren't you?
Well, especially if you were scrolling to another hour.
Yeah, if you're somewhere else.
If you were somewhere else.
So say if we're down here going, what's happening at 4 o'clock? And this song was going to continue, and as I can see there, I'd go, best toggle this.
Yeah.
And you can, doesn't matter where you are in here, you can toggle it to the opposite outcome very quickly, which is cool. Again, like the other window, we've got headphones, so if I wanted to hear what our friend George Benson sounded like, I can listen to the beginning of his song by hitting the red, the left click on my mouse, and he's playing down my ear at the moment.
Yep.
Okay, I can stop him by clicking again, or I can right click to hear how he finishes.
Yep.
So again, that's useful. And next to that we have adjust the seg point. This is good. I enjoy this. Here's a quick one, right? So at the minute, all these songs are set to seg based on the fact that we've imported all the audio. The red markers are set. It'll run itself absolutely fine. But you never know. I might want to listen or audition what this George Benson track is going to sound like moving into Adele. So if I double click on the item in the middle, which is our sweeper, we can see a seg edit. So why I've double clicked is it's just as easy to double click on the middle as it is to push that button and see it as well. We doubled up a lot of functions here. A lot of the people that I work with don't ever use that button there. They'll just go, right, I want to hear what that 3 seg sweep's going to sound like in my ears.
Mm-hmm.
If I hit play, I can hear this. If I right click, I can move the icon around, the actual play bit around, so I can listen to how that's going to end, and I can change this. So I can move that further up to force more of a fade on George Benson. I can move it back if I want a bit more of George Benson. I can look at the next item and move that up and down as well. And it means that you can get every single sweep, 2 or 3 song sweep, or whatever you want to do, up to exactly what you want it to sound like.
Yeah, make it sound nice and tight. Loosen it off a little bit. You may not want Adele. Is it Adele we're looking at? Yeah, Adele to run underneath that sweeper. You may want to start Adele cold off the end of the sweeper. So yeah, as you're doing there, you can move that there. Yeah.
And I can listen to that again. When I'm happy, save, and that will play as I've just told it to play. So it's like an override, isn't it, to what the log would have done normally anyway. Next to that, we have got our next button, which is the most important button on the system. We do also we're able to show you how to get physical hardware boxes, or you may purchase or grab hold of the
PlayoutONE Surface.
Yeah, the Surface, which goes on a Windows 10 tablet. But that's the next item. So if I go that now, it's firing the headlines bed now.
Yep.
So it's the next item in the log there. You can print the logs off. So if you say, right, I want to just print the log with the adverts in, or with the songs in, or the whole lot, you can then tell it to print the log, and it looks very nice actually. The printout of this.
It's very readable, isn't it? I mean, log printouts these days are quite old-fashioned, aren't they? I don't know many stations that do print logs out because of it's a lot of paper. In a station I used to work at, they used to print the whole 24 hours, and it was my job to print the log out the day before, but. Only really useful now, I guess, if you are going on an outside broadcast and you need to know what's going on. But yes, the log does look very nice.
So that's a function that you can set up here and just print out hour by hour or day by day, which is rather good. Oh, it is a flag. Certain parts of PlayoutONEPro have been designed for certain functions. A missing copy is a function if, for example, you've got, and correct me if I'm wrong, David, if you've got a separate log coming in for traffic, or you've got other things that you're forcing through. What traffic is, by the way, if you don't know, is your commercial.
So loading. You may have your adverts, commercials, traffic coming in from a different provider, a different scheduler system. PlayoutONEPro can, you can schedule the music, a week, a month, 2 months till Christmas if you want, and have it in the system. But that's no good if you're out and about selling commercials every day.
Yeah.
You need to merge those in every single night to make sure that you've got the latest commercials. Well, PlayoutONEPro can do that. It can take an ad log from another system and it can merge it into the music log. Where the missing copy report comes in quite useful is it can check to see what's been scheduled and make sure there's an audio
something there for
source for that file, because it'd be very, very bad if we were scheduling adverts but there was actually no card or no audio
no
on
advert
them.
there.
Yeah, no advert there.
So that's fine. Again, you can do it by date range. Check today, tomorrow, a date range between it, including missing audio, missing adverts, and expired audio as well. So put more functions in all the time, and I think they're useful. If you need them, they're useful. They're very useful indeed. Yeah. Next to that is our bin. This is to say, for example, I want to not play George Benson. If I hit the bin, he'll go grey, as I have done actually whilst I've been recording this video. That means that the actual item, a George Benson song, hasn't been deleted from the database, hasn't really been deleted from your hour, it's just been skipped over. You may want to reinstigate George by clicking the bin again. If you want to permanently delete George from that hour, you can right click on him. It gives you lots of other functions here, tons of other functions, and it can hard delete George away from the hour. The reason why this is important is if you are live, you'll have a gap time here. And that's showing me at the minute. If I was to be on air right now with this log, I'm going to be 15 minutes over to get my news at 2, which is a lot of time over. So I can start to pull that back by saying I'm going to get rid of George. And now I'm at 12:23 over. I'm getting rid of the sweeper. I can get rid of Adele. And now you can see that my gap time's coming down.
Yeah.
So my back time is coming down for me. I think I've got very sweaty fingers because I can't move the log up and down.
Oh, lovely.
Need a wet wipe. So here we go, and I can delete some more bits and pieces to get my gap time down. It's coming up now, actually, but those that are very astute will go, oh, yeah, but it's going up now. Why is that? Well, it's just stopped. Yeah. And why is it stopped? I'm going to go back home because my news headlines has finished, and it's a red stop waiting for me to do this. And that will hold at that point again.
So what if you didn't? What if you had these red stops in the log and, you wanted to make it go for the rest of the hour? Do you have to go through and take the green reds off?
If I got bored doing the show and thought, you know what,
I want to go home.
Just do that.
Yes.
Auto. What auto does is tells this log to ignore reds. Effectively, ignore reds and kind of turn them green.
Yeah.
So even though they won't turn green, you know that the function of that hour will be it'll just keep going and going and going. So now this sport bed's playing there, which is that one, with a little play button next to it. It's gone through it and played the next item, even though that's red.
Yeah.
Because it thinks, Phil's gone home. He's pushed the auto button.
Yeah.
So that's the function that would do. If I turn it back off again, this is now flashy. Well, it's gone red because it knows at the end of this item that's playing, it will have to wait for human intervention to continue.
And what's quite clever with PlayoutONEPro, as we can see here now, is we can actually run a bed and also the news element, i.e. the sport bulletin here, over the bed at the same time, and the bed still plays.
And it's ducked properly, so that they're not fighting with each other for audio space.
Yeah.
In going back into our types, which we've not even gone on to just yet, we will in a second. We've told the system already that when it plays one item, it fades the other by a percentage.
Yes.
So when it comes out at the end, it sounds like a human has faded it.
Yeah.
Which is good. Okay, next one on our list here is the swap function. What do we mean by the swap function? So, I've got John Waite missing you and Kylie Minogue dancing, and I'm looking at my log. This is in the next 10 minutes or so. I'm thinking, do you know what? I'm going to swap those two items around. Well, obviously, you could grab one and move it up, and grab that and do this. So you've reassembled that seg point, yeah. But what you'll notice is the traffic lights have stayed the same.
Stay with the item.
Yeah, so they stayed with the item. Kylie Minogue dancing was here, and we wanted it to stop because we were into an ad break or a stop set. But there's a much faster way of doing it, and also you can preserve the end or the way that this was going to work as a seg by just swapping. So if I hit that, swap, that, you'll notice that the traffic lights will stay the same. But the items will swap. They'll swap around. So that's a really good way of doing that quickly. Next to this is our little replace UIDs in the playlist. What it means is you can, if you know the ID of something, you don't have to go looking for it and dragging it in. If I want the Fog Project and we are one, I have to remember what the number was now. 41,000 or something, wasn't it? I'll have to cheat, to be honest. Hang on. It's in twice. We like it that much. 41013. So if I knew that anyway, and I wasn't looking over here, I could go, right, I'm going to do this. 41013. I'm going to replace that. Sorry, that's where my little mistake there, because it would replace that link with this, wouldn't it? Sorry, I'm one step ahead of myself. Did you realise that?
I know, you into the next button afterwards.
Yeah, that's the one.
But hey, if we want to replace it, that would...
That's fine. So I can replace that with that. If I wanted to replace John Waite with that, with Fog Project, I'd go... I wanted to add that. I could click my add button and do the same thing. So 41013 and insert it. And all of a sudden we've got it. It's just another quick way of... It's more with lower numbers. If you know your news intros to cart 10... then
your favourite sweeper.
Yeah, my favourite sweeper is 5.
Yeah.
So you can just type 5 in it. I don't know if there's 5 in it, but...
No, isn't the front of 5.
But it would just pop up and you go, I'll insert 5 because I like that.
Yep.
So again, that goes back to the old days of having numbers, which is good. Here, next week, we can look at the actual history of items. So Fog Project we love so much, although we manually imported it today. It's not on the main database because we've not used it. It's there and you can see it straight away as its history. We have a separate video to do with this. We've very recently put social media into this log as well. We'll put a link to that on this video, won't we? So you can see that because it's quite...
we'll pop one up at the bottom now, yeah.
That's effectively how you can actually socially post from the log, like you can do anything else.
Yep.
It's quite exciting, that.
It is. It just allows you to be a bit more flexible. Instead of having to open up Twitter or Facebook once set up, if you want to post something quickly to your Twitter or Facebook page, you can write it in here as a log item, insert it, and when it goes to effectively play that item, it will then post it to your Facebook or Twitter page, which is really quite useful.
If you've got voice track presenters who throughout the show will be doing specific features, they might be doing like surveys or things, as they voice track their show maybe 1 or 2 days in advance, they can go, I'll tell you what, just ahead of me doing that as an audio piece, I'll put a Facebook and Twitter post on saying, hi, it's Phil, today we're going to be talking about the rain outside. And it will go, and
it is raining right
now.
now.
It's still raining, so how do you like rain? All that kind of rubbish. It'll all be on there, and it means that the audience are aware of what you're doing, not only on air but also on social media, and you can plan days in advance. Various different organisations, as you say, Hootsuite. I think we mentioned Hootsuite before now. Some website operators allow you to do this as well if you've got websites that are savvy. But it's the first time we've put this into PlayoutONE so that you can literally assemble a show days in advance, maybe weeks in advance, and have your social media also scheduled alongside you. So that's very, very interesting. And this is a replace from category, which is one of those moments again where we can, if we look at the category, say if I look at Kylie Minogue here, it will actually do a little look at my B list, because she's on the B list at the minute. So if I say, well, I want to replace Kylie Minogue with something else from my B list, that will bring everything up for me. So it's a fast sub filter, isn't it, for the log?
Yep.
And that's what's there on top. The total runtime in the hour is that. The gap time is here, which is the one we're running to as a live event. To go, how I'm 17 minutes over the news. Will be 18 minutes past 2. So
here's the news.
Here's the news very late. And the rest of that is kind of self-explanatory. Apart from this little box on the bottom, which we were voice tracking. We mentioned voice tracking a few minutes ago. Recording shows ahead of time. We like keeping it simple. A presenter, I am one of those people. You've got a lot in your brain, not in your mind. You've not got, many of us have got busy brains all the time. If I wanted to record a voice link in between the Fog Project and John Waite, I could do it by just having this little section open here. If I click this once, it will play with the last 10 seconds of the Fog Project, but it will record me here. You see, Unfortunately, my microphone I'm using to talk to you people, so it's not hearing what I'm doing now on the system, but it would have a little WAV form of me chatting now. The next time I click that, it will fire the next item off, so it's fired John Waite off, and I'm still chatting away going, isn't it a great day today? It's raining, da-da-da-da-da, and this was great in 1984. John Waite, there's Missing You. Click. Do I want to commit it? Yes.
Why not, yeah.
And there's my link. So it's 3 clicks of that. And I've just done a link between the 2 items and made it sound like I'm there.
So that's recorded your voice link. You can then open that up in the seg editor, obviously, and have a little look at it. If we had recorded
it. Was that good?
Yeah, it was that good. We didn't want to record.
How good is that? Sound of silence.
But yeah, you can then move that around, yeah.
Yeah, so if you're a bit tired or you've just had salespeople coming in annoying you, as programmers always have nowadays. You might think, I want to tighten that up and make myself sound amazing.
Well, it's not necessarily that. It's the fact that, in the modern day radio station, presenters aren't just presenters anymore, are they?
No.
They are selling, they are scheduling logs, they are writing live reads. You may not be able to be in the studio all the time. If you're a managing director and you're on the air between 10 and 2, well, you can't spend 4 hours on the air. You've got to be out selling or doing managing director type things. So being able to go in the morning or the night before, go to the log, choose where you want to record your voice tracks. Such a time saver.
It is, yeah. And don't feel guilty about that. It's
no.
It takes a bit of time to get through, because you think that the end user is always the listener, isn't it? And you don't want to be cheating the listener, but you're not actually, because these tools we're showing you makes it so that the listeners hopefully have a really good time listening to the radio station. You may not necessarily be live with them all the time, but it gives you the tools then to be able to multitask.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll close that down, and I'll save the changes, and that's how you voice track. So the whole kind of second element is in there, which is super duper. Okay, and let's go back to the top here, because we showed you this briefly. I'm going to have to re-enable certain sections of this because we turned them off. Let's do that. Okay, so you may have also noticed here, if you're a techie like me, you'll go, hang on a minute, Phil, you've turned that off to stop my presenters deleting my radio station, but you very easily re-enabled them again. All right, but you can password protect that, you see, which we've not done in this instance, but here you'll notice there's a password protect settings. So if you were to do like we did before, where we wanted to blank these out, you'd then put a password in there and lock it, so that they couldn't just do what I've done and gone back in and gone, oh, that's funny, I can get back in here. See, just one for you to watch there. So yeah, here we go. So let's just nip back in from the beginning. We've got our little cog. I'm going to re-enable this because otherwise it will go nuts, which means that I can now see everything up here. Just in case, because sometimes presenters do this, they turn these off like that. Okay, we don't need to worry about that. There's PlayoutONE without its windows open. It's got its players in the bottom. It's got its control system on the top. It's got nothing else. If you want to open the audio finder window, you can do it by hitting the musical notes. But if you're in ear, you can do the same thing. It's back up. Okay. If your log has been shut down, which is this thing here, it won't affect you being on air. By the way, you can turn the log off.
Yeah, a lot of people say, well, if I close the log down, will it stop playing?
No. Let's demonstrate. Let's demonstrate that. So there's the travel bulletin playing, and I go away.
Yeah.
Still playing.
Yeah.
Because I can turn it back on again. And there it is. It's just you shut the window down. The data's still running.
And you can move those windows wherever you want.
Yeah.
You can swap them around if you want to. You can
move that there, move that there, up, down, the other thing, any way you want. That side, that side. That's that. But let's go back into here, because various other functions like this is our types manager. So we go back into what's a song, what's a cart, what's a bed, what's a news. You can make your own types. I mean, I've done this with our station where we've got ads, which are the live ads, old ads, up-and-coming ads. It might sound a bit ridiculous, but I can then colour code them.
Yep.
So the jocks go, oh, I can see that the red one's coming up next week. The yellow ones are on now. It's even just down to having that.
Well, that's how you set the colours, isn't it, in the log? So that's always something that people ask. How do I change the colour of songs? Generally, all songs will be one colour because they are songs. And that's, you don't really have two song types, do you? A song is a song.
Although we do have a couple of customers that have got 15 different song types. I'm thinking of one in particular, and they manage it like that. So they've got A and B list rock songs, and then C list songs. So down here, in their system, you'll see a number of different song types with different colours. It's all up to you. It's what you want to do, really. But then what it means is every single type, you can then say whether the output of the audio is at 100% or less. So you can. That's why the types are really important. So if songs, like at the minute, our songs are set to be 100%, so the volume is full up.
Yes. Fade is fully up.
But for some weird reason, we wanted that to be 80%. It means that all the songs will play quieter than anything else on the system. Or vice versa. You could say, well, all of my sweepers are dead loud and been processed to death by some 14-year-old in a studio.
They just found a limiter.
I need to do something about that. You'd set the type as your sweeper, and then you could say, for goodness sake, we need to tone these down a bit. So 80% will do. And whenever the type sweeper is playing, it will be quieter.
And that's an instant change. You don't have to go reconfigure all your songs. As soon as you change that here and hit save, that's it. The next time that type loads onto a player, it takes effect. Yeah.
So that's really, really good. pitch and tempo, as we said earlier. You know, some stations are dance stations. They decide that their current songs are going to be played a little bit quicker, just to give a bit more energy to the system. You set that as a type in here as well. So you can see, I think already, if you're following this, you go, oh, okay, so I can make a number of changes globally very quickly by just making sure whatever I've got in my database is coded right.
Yeah.
So that's how it works. Whether the actual items in it can be faded or not. So in songs, we've got a number of items that can be faded, but obviously we may have some beds that have got fades on them, but we don't want the system to, in an automated sequence, fade a bed off early.
Yeah, and this is all that happens on the in the runtime, which we'll post a link at the bottom now, so you can see that, because that is a whole section in itself, really, as you just mentioned about covering off the auto fade and stretch and stuff like that.
So we'll do that. So I'll cover that off nicely. The duck volume. This isn't about the feathered friends. It's all about how the rest of the database will react when something happens. So, for example, let me just say, if I know you do this, because I know you're more into this than I. I've set it up at our place, but I think I've had one or two people say to me, "Hang on, so is that number relating to the actual thing itself, or is it the thing around it?"
Yeah, what I like to use the voice here as an example. So what it's basically saying is, we've got the duck ticked, and we've got a duck of 50%. And so what it's basically saying is, when a voice type is playing, something else is playing under it, duck that thing to 50%.
Right, cool. Yeah.
So that voice will be my voice track. So if a song's playing, it's going to duck the song to 50% whilst my voice track is playing, so it doesn't drown me out.
Okay. Brilliant, and that's how the whole type thing relates to.
Yeah, on
everything.
sweepers, it looks like we are ducking anything that's playing under a sweeper to 75%. So not as severe on a sweeper, because I guess they're produced items and you don't need to duck them that far. But that's how that works.
Awesome, great, and that in its sense is what's going on here. This column relates to the M1 types, the Music1Pro type, which is we'll talk about separately, and meta overrides are to do with how this item, when it posts out, how it works. So we've set this up to basically say, well, when it's playing a song, for example, it will say now playing on Radio Newark. You know, We Are One by the Fog Project.
Yeah.
And again, we'll talk about that in a separate instance as well. But that's all there through the types window.
Okay, so I guess that's then the PlayoutONEPro side of things, and I think even though we've spent a good 50 minutes there, Phil, there are other things in there that we've not had time to go into on this demo video, but you know, we can always take questions afterwards and do another demonstration session online if needs be, so do let us know if you need to do that. Let's take a look now then quickly at Music1 and how that integrates with PlayoutONEPro, and as you can see at the bottom here, we've got that open. And this is it. This is Music1 in all its beautiful glory. As you can see here down the left-hand side, we have our different categories. And we were talking earlier on, weren't we, about the Sports Bed Monday.
Yes, we changed that from Sports Bed to Sports Bed Monday.
And there it is. There it is. So you can see the power and the integration between both PlayoutONE and Music1, the titles, copy across, the artist information, categories, and all that sorts of bits and pieces. So as you can see, we've got our A list, we've got our B list, we've got our C list. Those are highlighted in this blue colour. There are music categories. We then have our non-music categories, our station ID, our news beds, sweepers, etc. And this is where you would, for example, if we have our A list song, John Waite Missing You, we can move him to our B list, and then if we go and find John Waite, we can see he's now moved over to our B list, and that's the power of Music1 that you get and PlayoutONEPro together. Now, when we come to schedule our log in Music1, we have a format clock, as you may expect. Currently in this demo database we don't have one. However, if I was to quickly add in a couple of song positions, so we'll go for our A list here. It's going to be a very basic clock. Let's copy and paste these items in. There we go. Paste a few of these in. What should we have? Some sweepers. Let's have some sweepers in here as well. So we're going into the add format clock position and we're choosing sweepers. And there we go. And then what we can do is we can copy this around. I won't build a full clock for the purpose of this demonstration video, but we can paste those in there. And we'll pretend that that's our format clock here. What we can then do in Music1 Pro is we can actually assign this to our different formats. So we have our Saturday format here. So we can, for example, assign our new clock to there. We can also assign it to our weekday format. So we may have the same clock for weekdays. And so we've now assigned our new clock into that position. We may also have...
I was that excited, then I fell off my chair.
I was going to say... don't know if you heard that bang, but there we go. So if we can then also, if we wanted to have a different clock format for a Monday, we could call this a Monday. And then within Music1, there's the opportunity to assign Monday into the Monday. There we go. And then we can choose to have that clock onto there. Now, as you can see, you can get really dynamic with this. You could have a different clock format for every day, as you may have. You may have one for weekends, one for weekdays. It totally depends on how complicated or how easy you want to make it. It's as simple as that. But in essence, the way that a log is generated is we would generate a log in Music1. So we're going to generate a log for 3rd of September. And we are going to run the schedule. We've not applied any rules to this database so that it just schedules on its own. We can just clear that minimum day length off because it's telling us that we don't have enough content in the day to generate that log, but we've cleared that off now. Once we hit save schedule, that's it. That's in PlayoutONE now. We don't have to do any importing, any special finding of files. It's just as simple as that, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Yeah, and it's all there. So all of a sudden in your log, you'll see all that information appear.
And as we've shown you before about the power between the two, if we were to create a category, so we can create, for example, a power category. There is the power category, and if I was to drag in George Benson, Give Me the Night into our power category. If we then go to find George Benson, and there he is. He's in the power category. So the integration works between the two, and it's just a dead simple way of making sure that you don't have to duplicate all your work, and ensuring that with PlayoutONE and Music1, even though we may have a terminal in the studio, we may have a terminal in the production office, the program manager's office, everything is talking to each other so that there's no duplication of data and everything stays in sync. It just works.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we said at the start of this program, you know, it's such a requirement for us to make sure that the front of house looks simple to operate. Because the last thing you want to do is frighten people off. Your air talent, your air talent are there to make an audience happen, and this is a tool. This is our best friend. We want this to be their best buddy, the best producer they could ever want to have in that environment with them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So if you've got any more questions, then of course we would be happy to answer those questions. You can of course email us support@playoutone.com, and if you would like any more specific demos, and we're happy to do those for you as well. We can hook up on a screen share and do those. But we hope you found this video informational, if that's a word I can use.
Informational.
Informative.
Informational. Yes, it's been informational. It's been informative.
Informative. Yeah. And we hope to speak to you very soon. Thanks for watching and take care.